Some of you from a long time ago, and some of you I just met recently, but I'm really glad that you came. I'm going to present a project that I'm in, that I've gotten involved in, that I've been studying for a while. I'm the sort of person, for those of you who know me, I'm really interested in finding better ways of doing things. And this, what you're about to see is stunning. It's pretty amazing. And I don't want to bias you any further. I just want to let you see an ABC primetime investigative report that aired in June of 2005. Okay? You guys know John Quinones? Have you ever seen that show, ABC Primetime? Okay, it's from that show. So I'm going to have Luis start it off, and we'll go from there.
¿Está al revés? Estoy al revés, ¿no? It's upside down. Is it upside down? Yes, it is upside down. Yes, it is upside down. I don't know why it's upside down. I'm going to turn it. It's annoying.
You want to get an edge on turning back the clock with just a few pills? Who doesn't? Well, it's no longer science fiction, but science possibility, a potential breakthrough. As I found out firsthand, there may be a way to erase years, at least inside my body. Granted, it's down the road, but some scientists are wondering if a new pill I took might offer a very long life. It may not look like the fountain of youth, but inside this nondescript building, I'm about to become part of an exciting experiment, a kind of guinea pig.
Dr. McCord, okay.
I'm here at the University of Colorado in Denver to meet Dr. Joe McCord, a world-renowned scientist.
This is pretty exciting stuff you're finding, huh?
It is. We're very excited about it.
His latest research could very well unravel the mystery of aging itself. And his decades of experiments may have the potential of adding years to people's lives and possibly prevent chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. It all centers around this small yellow pill, and for me, it begins with a blood test.
It wouldn't be the first time I've given blood for this company.
They want to check my levels of something called T-bars, which is a rough indicator of a person's actual age. T-bars can identify a condition known as oxidative stress, a kind of measure of the wear and tear on our bodies. Oxidative stress, like the rusting of an engine, is not a good thing.
Bad for the body,
Leading to disease.
leading to disease and leading to malfunction, and importantly, leading to what we call aging. It is a slow progression of increasing oxidative stress. That's the main characteristic biochemically of the aging process.
The problem of aging begins with the very food we eat to give us energy. As our cells burn that food, they also release toxic chemicals. Those chemicals, you may know them as free radicals, react with all the components of our cells, literally bombarding them millions of times per second, damaging all our cells. The result? Oxidative stress. And we all have it. The body fights back with a system of defenses. It makes two antioxidant enzymes, catalase and SOD, whose job is to gobble up the free radicals before they can harm our cells. But as we get older, some of those toxic radicals overwhelm our enzymes and wreak their havoc. For a long time, scientists thought that antioxidant vitamins like C and E would lower it, but they don't.
And it's turned out in just the last 5 years or so, we see that they're not good enough tools. They're not powerful enough.
But this pill, he says, is powerful enough. In fact, many times more powerful.
So, doctor, how often do I take these?
And so, here I go. With that swallow, I've just become part of a potentially landmark scientific experiment.
Doesn't taste bad.
It's called Protandim, and tests on both mice and humans have already shown that it revs up the manufacture of those good enzymes in our bodies. More enzymes, fewer free radicals to harm us. Whether that will lead to longer life is still unknown. Experiments to see if mice live longer are about to get underway, but it's a tantalizing theory.
Right now, all we know is that this preparation decreases oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is not a disease, just like aging is not in itself a disease, but it's something that accompanies and is attached to many disease processes.
Have you discovered the fountain of youth?
I wouldn't put it that way, but we may have discovered something that will tell us a lot more about how we age, what happens biochemically, and maybe how we can slow it down. So you can see the age-related.
Normally, oxidative stress, measured by those T-bars, increases with age. But in Dr. McCord's tests, taking just one pill of Protandim a day reversed that trend for everyone at every age, even for an 80-year-old.
They all are reduced to the level of oxidative stress that one would expect, frankly, in a newborn or a very young child.
Back to the oxidative stress levels of a child? It sounds too good to be true. Will Protandim work on me? Well, perhaps. It turns out there is some other promising evidence that seems to back up Dr. McCord's findings. That evidence comes from mice that have been genetically engineered to produce more catalase, one of the enzymes that Protandim increases.
The scientific evidence is there. The pieces seem to make sense. The question is, does this translate into something that humans can take advantage of?
So, just what's in this seemingly incredible pill? Well, actually, its roots are very humble. Protandim is a combination of 5 plant ingredients. Some you may know: green tea or turmeric, a spice used in Indian cooking. Others, Withania somnifera and Silybum marianum, are more exotic.
There's a huge human experience with each of these ingredients. They've been used often in traditional medicine in India and China and many other cultures, in some cases centuries and centuries.
And so, ancient Eastern healing and modern Western medicine may soon be working together. High oxidative stress is associated with more than aging. It's been linked to hundreds of illnesses.
It's at the very center of many diseases: liver disease, diabetes, emphysema, asthma. I've studied all of these: strokes, heart attacks.
Even mental disease.
Yes,
Depression?
Alzheimer's disease, depression.
We make no claims about curing any disease or preventing any disease. We hope that when enough studies are done, perhaps such claims might be able to be made in the future.
Clinical studies to assess Protandim in both diabetes and heart disease should start in 3 to 4 months. But what about everyone's old nemesis, aging itself? Well, it's all about balance between the good antioxidants and those toxic free radicals.
And if we can tip that back, we may reduce some of the bad side effects of aging.
But what about my progress? After nearly 2 weeks now, it's time to get my results. Dr. McCord calculates the numbers. The result, my level of oxidative stress has declined dramatically.
45%, that's excellent.
Just look at where I fall on the graph, before and after.
Which, if extrapolated back, is the level you would see in a newborn baby.
Have we turned back the clock? Well, maybe not on the outside, but deep inside within my cells. Yes, indeed.
Would you suggest I keep taking this supplement?
I would. I can't guarantee it's going to extend your life. I can't guarantee it's going to eliminate any diseases or cure any diseases.
But we do know that oxidative stress is part of those disease processes. I don't want to wait until I'm 80 years old and find out that I should have taken it.
Okay. So that aired in 2005. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a college biology instructor at EPCC, and but the reason I took an interest in this is because I have autoimmune problems. Have you ever heard the word autoimmune before? It has to do with like when your body attacks itself. Like usually asthma and allergies, they sort of fall into the category of that. And a few years ago, I got really thin and I couldn't figure out why. I mean, I look thin now, but I weigh 170. I got down to 137. And I got pretty desperate to get better, and my doctors wanted to put me on steroids. And I got the sneaking suspicion that that was not going to be a good idea long term. Like they can help you short term, but being on steroids long term is a bad deal. So sort of out of desperation and using sort of my biological, I guess, research skills that I had learned as a graduate student, I started just reading documents, learning about, different, what is autoimmunity, how does it work? And what I uncovered over and over again, and this is sort of interesting, with any chronic disease, whether it's autoimmunity or whether it's diabetes or whether it's even heart disease, those sorts of things, even cancer, there are two things that are very, very common among all chronic diseases. One of them is inflammation, and I'm sure you've heard that before, and the other is what was talked about here. It's called oxidative stress. And it involves free radicals, as they have the cartoon there, basically bombarding your cell, sort of stealing electrons from good molecules and turning them bad. If they do it to your DNA, you could have a mutation, it can lead to cancer. If they do it to proteins, it can disable the protein. So that's, I guess what I'm trying to say is, the exciting discovery that I made is that I found that there are basically two biological problems with, associated with all chronic disease. And both were exceptionally correlated with autoimmunity, so I took an interest in this. Because I had seen a lot of stuff, including steroids, that was capable of removing inflammation, but I'd never seen anything that could remove oxidative stress. Okay? Like they sell antioxidants like vitamin C, things like that, and it's true, those things do remove free radicals, but on a one-to-one basis. So like one vitamin C is capable of basically killing or removing one free radical, but then they're both neutralized in that process. And what intrigued me about what I was reading about the protandem was that the protandem itself was not an antioxidant. It was something that signaled your cells to produce their own antioxidants. Like all of us have that capability, but as we age or as we get sick, we become unresourceful with that intracellular skill. And so over time, we end up having degenerative problems. So, of course, being sort of a desperate biologist interested in lots of things, especially getting better, I decided, well, I'm going to try this stuff after having read about it. And one thing I noticed that was sort of interesting about protandem is that almost all supplements have some sort of research on the ingredients. Like you've heard of green tea and milk thistle and those sorts of things, and they have ingredients. But one thing I didn't understand is why the research was on this itself. Like why weren't they just researching the milk thistle, and then making claims about it? Well, basically, it turns out this is what happened. They determined that that particular combination of those 5 ingredients is something called an NRF2 activator. And it's sort of like if this is a cell, NRF2 activator it's in your cytoplasm of the cells. And it sits there and it's like a thermostat. If it gets too hot in terms of oxidative stress, it turns on and it goes into the nucleus and it causes the production of those antioxidant enzymes. So your cell takes care of itself via this switch. It's like a light switch or a thermostat. And as we get older, we have less of this, and it's a problem. Like if all the things that we lose when we get older, it's a terrible thing to lose because it allows oxidative stress to be rampant within your cells. So ABC Primetime saw that this company was making claims that it could reduce oxidative stress, so they came in and did an investigative, sort of like a Mythbusters, and they wanted to sort of slam it and say, well, not really. And then they ended up giving it that sort of review. So what it did is it stimulated a lot of interest in the public for a short period of time, but people didn't really understand what was going on because there was only one scientific study on it so far, and it showed exactly what that cartoon showed. The subsequent 9 studies that came out, and the other 20 that are currently in progress but have not been published yet, what the 10 that have been published show is that what it is it's an NRF2 activator. and it's medically novel. And like, there's no drug that does that. There's 2 drugs that are coming out. One is for multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disease, and the other is for kidney failure with diabetes. And it's because your kidneys have the highest concentration of NRF2 in your whole body. But those drugs aren't out yet. They've had amazing results in like phase 3 human trials, I think is where they are right now with those drugs. But these guys ended up coming up with something that had never been done before in medicine, which is the ability to reduce oxidative stress in all humans by 40%. They could even take an 80-year-old and put him back down to the level of a 20-year-old. So I was interested in that, just in taking it, to try to just basically get rid of my oxidative stress. And the scientists who study it, they're not really interested in it other than they use it as a tool to reduce oxidative stress in the diseases that they study. So there are 3 studies on cancer. But they're not trying to cure cancer, they're trying to figure out, okay, what does cancer behave like if you just remove the oxidative stress? Is it worse or is it better? There's 2 studies on heart disease, and they're trying to remove the excess free radicals and see, okay, what does congestive heart failure look like if you remove that? Okay? And so what they ended up finding in these studies, just using that as a tool to reduce oxidative stress, is that it's this thing called a NRF2 activator, and it's absolutely amazing because NRF2, it's what biologists call a transcription factor. It governs many different genes, all of which are used to respond to stress in the cell. So if there's inflammatory stress, there's a response. If there's oxidative stress, there's a response. If there's trauma, scar tissue, something like that, there's a response. This is it's a tool that the cell uses to sort of ramp up its own vitality and live through whatever stress is going on. So over the last 5-7 years that they've been studying it since that thing came out, they've become really excited about what they can do with it medically, so much so that these pharmaceutical companies are now trying to make drugs that do the same thing. Okay, so that's sort of the biology lesson of it. And the 5 basic things that they found is it reduces oxidative stress. If you take a blood test for like C-reactive protein, they've shown that it drastically reduces by like 50% C-reactive protein, which is a marker of inflammation in your body. It's anti-fibrotic. It slows down the formation of excessive scar tissue. And also, it's anti-tumor. The three skin cancer studies that were done on it showed that it reduced the number and size of tumors that were formed in a mouse model with mice that would normally form a lot of melanomas. So much so that they created a topical application of Protandim. It's basically Protandim, but in a cream. And then the last thing, and probably the most important thing from me from the standpoint of somebody with autoimmunity, it upregulates something called glutathione by 300%. And glutathione is what allows your liver to help detoxify things. It helps with hormonal regulation. It's also an antioxidant enzyme, so it helps also with those free radical problems that are there. I was really interested in that because people with good glutathione levels have relatively balanced immune systems. So that's sort of the science of it. What I thought I would do is just sort of tell people what it felt like when I started experimenting on myself. I like to experiment. I'm a scientist. So I started like taking this stuff and I started keeping a log of what happened. And I put a couple of my friends on it. And my friends were sort of interested because they saw that thing and they thought, oh, that must be too good to be true. But let me try it and I'll prove you wrong. That sort of thing. So a bunch of us started taking it. This was in July of last year. And here's sort of what we found. We found that it causes our hair and nails to grow really fast. Like I have to shave a lot more now. And my father, who I put on it, he was taking arthritis medicine. He was taking Aleve for his knees. And after about 6 weeks, he was able to get off of his Aleve. So I thought that was impressive. It wasn't really affecting me profoundly. I took it for like 3 months and was like, I could tell I was taking something. I felt like I had like a little more energy. But my friends around me were sort of hopping up and down. They were happy. Like they had a lot of energy. And I was wondering, why isn't it affecting me as strongly? Well, sure enough, about 4 months into it, I started to be affected strongly by it too. I was taking both thyroid medicine and hydrocortisone at the time because my endocrine system had gotten basically wiped out by my autoimmune problems. So I I started to feel like I was, when I took my thyroid medicine, like I was overdosing on it. So I talked my doctor into letting me sort of like ramp down the thyroid and see if I could like manage. Because I'd rather get off the thyroid than the Protandim. Just, I never liked the idea that I was taking those hormones. So he agreed reluctantly. And so I started ramping down. And sure enough, after 2 months, I was able to get off the thyroid completely. And after 3 months, I got up with the hydrocortisone. And I thought I was going to be on those for the rest of my life. And I couldn't tell you exactly why. Biologically, what I think was happening is your liver processes most of the hormones in your body. And people with autoimmune conditions oftentimes have sort of poor liver function. So I think what was happening is as my liver function was getting better, like what thyroid hormone that was coming out of my thyroid was actually being processed better. Like I think my body was becoming more efficient with that. So anyway, that's sort of what happened to me. But other people have experienced different things on Protandim. Is anyone else taking Protandim that would like to like say like what they noticed in their little experiment if they took it? Dr. Miza.
Well, basically, I used to have a very severe problem on right here, cervical spine, sort of osteoarthritis. And I used to do acupuncture a lot and chiropractic, so on and so forth. But since I've been on it, within 2 weeks, I sleep better, I don't have any problem. And last week, I drove 17 hours from Georgia to upstate New York. And my neck was just amazing. I never had that before. And I put my brother, who lives in Georgia, he used to have a lower backache. He was told to do surgery. Now he can lift up heavy stuff, there's no problem. That's one of them. Another one, I believe it is also, it dilates the vasodilator stuff, activity functions. And I used to have very severe problem on my leg. I had varicose vein, had surgery done, I believe 2 years ago. And before I started Protandim, I had severe pain in the evening. And then I went to my doctor when they did Doppler ultrasound. They told me that another vein pops up. So the only solution I have is to do surgery again. I was scheduled for last Friday. I don't know, I told you right about that. And I've been on it. I don't have any pain. I asked the doctor, I don't like surgery. You know, is there any other option? He said, if you don't have any pain, you don't have to go for the surgery. But if you have pain, that's the only option you have. I canceled it. I told them I'm afraid. I put his wife on the Protandim in 2 signs. But those are the 2 experiences that I had. My brother and my husband looking younger and energetic and all those hormones.
Yeah, that's. I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot the sleep thing. That's something very common. Most people are able to sleep through the night much better when they take it. Because the reason I was on hydrocortisone is I had adrenal insufficiency, and I would classically, just like people with most people with adrenal insufficiency, they'll wake up around midnight and they won't be able to go back to bed until like 4 in the morning. And they're just sort of like sitting there wide awake in the middle of the night. It took a number of months, but after 3 to 4 months, at the same time when like I felt like I didn't need as much hormone, I noticed I started to sleep much better during the night. So those are like typical things that people feel when they take Protandim. Some people don't feel anything. I would say maybe 10, 20% of people they don't have anything that's like exceptional like what me and Dr. Miza just said. They're just they just feel like they're leading their normal life. Usually after several months they feel something, but everybody, what's remarkable about it scientifically is everybody, their oxidative stress gets reduced by 40%. And what I would encourage you to do is go to pubmed.gov. It's a website it's the National Institute of Health website for peer-reviewed research on diseases, drugs, supplements, whatever. And if you just type in Protandim to the search bar, what you'll find is those 10 studies. So that's what it is, and that's what it does, that's what it feels like. The next question I started asking myself as I was doing so much better, I was gaining weight, I was getting off these medicines, I started asking myself, well, if this stuff is so good, how come it's 2011 and I'm only hearing about it now when that thing came out in 2005? Like, why? Well, part of the problem that I found, just, it takes a long time for stuff that's in science to get into the doctors' heads. And it takes time, you know, to get, and there's an information flow thing through medical school, but there's also sort of like economic things with pharmaceuticals, there's political things, that sort of thing. And so I noticed a lot of the stuff that had research on it that seemed really resourceful, that seemed like there was credible, you know, lots of evidence on it. It wasn't being offered by my doctors. And I don't think my doctors were stupid people. I think they're actually pretty smart, but they're operating within a system that basically deals with what's called FDA approval, and it's pharmaceuticals is what they're able to give you. So I learned a little bit about that, but then I thought, well, I mean, tons of supplements are sold all the time, and this stuff was in GNC. So why wasn't it flying off the shelves? Like, I could have gone to the Sunland Park Mall, I could have bought it at GNC. Well, it turns out it was only selling like a quarter or a half a bottle a month per store. And they hired a new CEO in 2009 after 6 years of just sort of mediocre sales, and they were saying, look, you know, we have patents on this, we have peer-reviewed research, compared to these other supplements, and it's unique. Like, you know, we're hiring you to make this sell better. So what he said, as soon as he saw that basically ABC primetime thing, he's like, you know what you need is, you basically need a business model that develops what was started in that. Biological education about what NRF2 activation is and why it's different than like an antioxidant. That's basically what he said. And so they agreed to do like a trial of direct sales, where like it wasn't in stores, but like people who distributed it would educate people. And it did very well in their trial, and so in 2010 they moved it to direct sales. And ever since then, the company's been increasing their profits by 300% per year. For instance, in 2009 they did 4.5 million in sales. In 2010, when they moved it to the direct sales, went to 11.5 in sales. In 2011, it went to 38.9 million in sales. And then in 2012, at the end of next month, is the end of the fiscal year, they're going to do 125 million. So they're going leaps and bounds, and it's the same products, the same stuff. It's just what they've engaged is they've realized, okay, this is not going to matriculate into modern medicine until the pharmaceutical companies have their own NRF2 activators. And so if we want to get this stuff to people who need it, we're going to have to engage the public educationally. So that's what happened with the company. And if you're interested in the company, their stock ticker is LFVN. So they're publicly traded, LFVN. You can check out their financials and some of the science and stuff on it. Okay. So that's the story of like how I came to be here. I am one of these distributors of Protandim. I educate people about it, but I was reluctant to do that. Those of you who know me as sort of a little nerdy. Maybe I don't stay out late at night. I don't have necessarily a lot of friends because my friends are books, and I didn't consider myself as somebody who would do this like as a business, though I was telling my friends about it and getting them to experiment on themselves. So basically, here's what happened. The guy who I enrolled under called me. He's in San Diego, and he called me and he said, "Hey, Paul, I noticed you started there in El Paso as a distributor. I think you're the first one there. How can I help you build your business there?" And I was too embarrassed to tell him that I just wanted the pills for cheap, and that's why I became a distributor, to get it for the wholesale price. So I just sort of sat there and listened to him. And I said, well, at the end I finally said, look, I just wanted to put my dad on it. I wanted to get myself on it. Some of my friends seem to like it, but I teach at the community college. And at that time, that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. Okay. So, but then I started seeing these miraculous results in my friends. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And almost everybody I know is a parent who's diabetic or something. They've got some sort of issue that's in the process of being studied or has already been studied with favorable results, and they're all on 5 drugs. And I was in the process of getting off of my drugs. So what I started to do is I called them back and I said, look, I think this would work, but I really don't think, I don't really think I'm your person, but just tell me more. Okay. So what he said, look, you've got something on your side. It's called time. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm getting older. What do you mean? He said, well, I mean timing. He said, the fact that you're the first in El Paso means that you could potentially do this and not be very good at it, but just be consistent about it, and it would go well. And all you really have to have is motivation to help people, because that's what this does. I was like, okay, I can kind of see that. You know, I can see that. But, like, how do I know that this is going to be, like, how do I know that Walmart's not going to get one, like a Pro Tandem 2 or something like that, and then I'll have to compete against them? Okay. Well, he's like, I don't know if you read the patent documents, but it has 4 U.S. government-granted patents. I was like, well, how can you patent a plant? You can't do that. You can patent a drug, but you can't patent plants. He's like, oh, they didn't patent the plants. Read the patents. And so I did. I read the patents. You know what they did? They patented the recipe that causes this. Like, 300 different arrangements of these 5 herbs went together and did not cause nerve 2 activation. Not in the amounts that, like, this one ratio that's in it. And so they were able to show in 4 different patent documents that that's what it did, and it's not patent pending, they were granted the patents. So 25-year patents, for 25 years there's not going to be a nerve 2 activating herbal supplement. So I was like, well, okay, so the timing, you know, the product seems good, it's consumable, like people, he's like, you know, you're going to want repeat clients, so, you know, don't sell airplanes, sell things that people eat or that they wear. You know, that's why direct sales does so well with makeup and vitamins, basically. Okay. So I started thinking about it more and more, and, you know, it seemed like the timing was good, it seemed like, you know, potentially I could help a lot of people, but I really didn't think I would be able to make it work financially because I didn't think I would be good at selling stuff. You know, like, I like talking about stuff, but I didn't think I'd be good at selling it. And so what they ended up doing is they partnered me with a guy named Terry Shanahan, and he's going to be our next guest speaker. He came all the way from Omaha, and he has a background in business and finance, but also a background in nutrition. He's Kyle Korver of the Chicago Bulls nutritional consultant. He also consults with pro and Olympic athletes in other sports, NFL, speed skating. And they said, I'm just going to partner you with Terry, Paul, because he knows what's going on, and he could teach you how to do this, and he could teach you how to make a living at it if you wanted. You know, like if you wanted to do that in conjunction with your you know, EPCC teaching career, you could do that, or he could teach you how to retire. And I'm like, well, you got to realize, you know, I haven't really even thought about retirement. You know, like I'm still worried about the student loans. You know, like I want to get out of the hole and then you know, start worrying about retirement. And he's like, well, you know, I want you to look at this because it's a very different model than what you're doing. Okay. And so what I'm going to invite Terry to do is I'm going to have him come up and explain just a little bit about how he got involved in this and sort of how he was able to convey to me that this was worth doing as a business project. Okay. So everyone, let's welcome Terry Shanahan.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Great job. I was over there taking notes when Paul speaks because I learned stuff from him. So I'm just going to tell you guys, I'm going to talk about a couple things really quick. My phone's ringing, so I'm going to turn that off. But basically, I want to share a couple things. One, I want to share sort of my involvement, how I got involved in this. And then there's some of you sitting here thinking like, wow, Paul's got a great story, but I'm not sick. And so, you know, what's in this for me? You know, there might be somebody sitting there thinking, what's in this for me? Why am I here? And so I'm going to get into that a little bit too. I'm going to show, you know, Paul mentioned making it a career, so I'll talk about that. But I'll try to be brief. So basically, my story is similar to Paul's. I actually had some major health issues myself, and after going the traditional medical route, I wasn't able to get answers, and I was pretty young, 24 years old at the time, and I found a naturopath practitioner who really helped me with respect to curing a bunch of different stuff and totally changing all my lab work. And really in about 6 weeks I became, you know, quote unquote normal based on what the doctors had seen when they had told me that it wasn't going to happen for the rest of my life and I was going to, like Paul, be on steroids and different types of drugs. So Paul and I have that in common, and so we really connected with that story. But the bottom line is, after I there's another chair here if anybody wants to sit. So that's kind of how Paul and I connected a lot, through that. But my deal is, after I went through what I went through, I wanted to help other people, because I was like, okay, I had 27 different doctors who, again, are some of our brightest people, tell me that I was going to live a life of illness for the rest of my life when I was 24. Luckily, I didn't take that for an answer, and so after I healed myself, I wanted to help so many other people, and so I started consulting. And so I had a business where I did nutritional and supplement consulting with clients. And through that, Paul mentioned oxidative stress and inflammation. Those aren't only huge in disease and the things that some of us deal with, or the people that we care about deal with. Those are huge in athletes. So professional athletes who are perfectly healthy, who look like Greek gods from the outside, inside they're pretty unhealthy, because oxidative stress creates a lot of damage. And so oxidative stress and inflammation were the two things. And so through what I was doing with nutrition and supplementation, I got to work with athletes, and then eventually worked my way up to some of the top athletes. And I love doing that. But for me, the biggest thing was I wanted to continue to help people, and as I started working with athletes, they were paying me great money. I was traveling around. It was fun, but I was helping less people. I'd have one or two athletes that I'd travel around with and be at their beck and call, but I was not helping 7, 8, 10, 12 people on a daily basis. I was helping one or two for an entire month. And so that kind of wore on me, because I was thinking, well, just because I'm making more money doesn't mean I'm making a bigger difference, because I wasn't helping a lot of the people like Paul, or there's some good people in here we talked about earlier who have different just sort of ailments or autoimmune or thyroid issues. Those are the people I was used to helping, and I wasn't really helping them as much anymore. So eventually, when I got introduced to Protandim, I got introduced to it as an anti-inflammatory, a potential anti-inflammatory for one of the athletes I was working with. He was coming back from 2 different surgeries in the off season. And so I like Paul, wanted to know why I hadn't heard of this, and so I heard the same story Paul did, got my answers there. And I wanted to see, my biggest thing is there's all this research, there's 10 studies, but I want to know who paid for them. Because I've seen tons of supplement companies that claim to have research and claim to have studies, but they're funding their own studies with their own physicians or PhDs who are on staff. And so that's always a little gray area, because they can do stuff. I could probably hire Paul to well, Paul wouldn't do that, but you could get people to say to make the data look how you want it to look, and so that's questionable. But for me, the research was amazing, but what was most amazing was the clients, whether they're sick, whether they're healthy, whether they're professional athletes. I was seeing crazy results, stuff that I literally didn't believe. And fortunately, myself, I had great results as well. And so that kind of struck me at some point. I was having a conversation with one of the guys who was a mentor, and when I got in, there was like 19,000 distributors in the world. Okay, there's companies that have 3 million distributors in the U.S. right now. So I was, brand new, and I told them, I said, I don't really intend to sell this. I intend to use it with my clients. I love what I'm doing. It's what I've always wanted to do. But I have a business background, like Paul said, and I'm entrepreneurial. And so eventually a light bulb went off, and I thought, wow, this is an opportunity, because I have something here that we don't have in medicine. There's no other product in the world that can do it. And so if we can take this to more people, we can help a lot of people. But on top of that, from a business standpoint, we can get compensated and potentially create a residual income that could be life-changing to myself and to other people. And so the biggest thing is, when I was doing health and nutrition, I'd have a lot of people tell me, well, I love what you're telling me, but I can't afford your services. And so then what do? You give them some websites, you try to help them a little bit, but, you have to make a living with what you're doing. And so sometimes, some of the best medical care and some of the best things are kept for those only people who can afford it. And so that was something that bothered me as well. And so, long story short, one of our guys who's a mentor said to me, he said, you know what, if you really want to help people, you'll look at the business. You'll look at the business and what this could do by helping people, because you're not only going to help them physically and with their potential medical issues or ailments, you're also going to potentially help them on the monetary side. And there's a huge, obviously, financial crisis for a lot of people in the world, but in the United States as well. And so that kind of got me, but I still didn't really understand. And he said to me, he said, the best distributor will help way more people than you are right now. And so he said, the person who gets other distributors, who actually does this business the right way, they're going to help way more people than you. And it's sad, because you have a lot of knowledge that could help people, but you're not going to do it if you don't get distributors. And so he said that to me, and it kind of hit me, and I realized that it was true. And so, when you're sitting here saying, okay, these are some great stories, I don't have these problems, what's in it for me? Well, what's in it for you is there's an opportunity to create a tremendous residual income by simply getting people in front of the information. So Paul's not a sales guy. I try not to be a sales guy, but at the end of the day, we just want to get people in front of the information, and so that's what we do. We just share it with them, okay? And so by doing that, I'm going to show you financially what it could look like, but more importantly, what it's done for people, or what it's doing for people. And there's multiple stories in the room, not just me and Paul. Is that there's sort of two ways of income, or sort of two routes we can take in our life. And most of us are pretty familiar with linear income, even though we might not know the definition. Has anybody heard of the word linear income before? How about residual income? Some of us have probably heard of that. Okay, there's a couple people who've heard of residual. So linear, whether you know it or not, linear basically just means that you have to go do something, and if you do it, you get paid. Okay, so it might be hourly, like you get paid to do something hourly. It might be you have a salary, so you have a salary to do your job. You show up from 9 to 5, and you get a certain amount of days off per year. And if you call in sick, they're going to hassle you, but you might still be able to stay home. So that's the linear path. There's some maybe better things on the linear path where maybe you have a super specialty, like a doctor, or an attorney, or somebody who has a great specialty in something, and so you still have to show up and do all the work, but you might get paid more per hour or more on a salary. The other type of linear, which could be pretty good too, is like a real estate agent. So somebody who, they have to make a sale. If they make a sale, they get paid. If they don't, they don't. But they still have to do it. And after they make that sale, they start over. And so a lot of people are very familiar with this linear path, but we don't even know that there's actually something that's way better called residual income. Because most of the time when we think of residual income, we think of like the real estate market, like owning rental properties or something, or investing in the stock market. But the average person, to even play that game, has to work a long time, because you have to bring in your income, pay your taxes, pay for your bills, pay for your living, and then save a little. And then once that little gets to be a certain amount of money that's enough to even get in the game on the real estate world, or in the stock market, then you get to play, but it's pretty risky. And there's a lot of people who found that out firsthand, that the real estate market and the stock market aren't always all they're cracked up to be, because you don't have control, and there's risk. So what I found is that this model actually allows anybody, there's very few barriers to entry, it allows anybody, whether you're a biologist, whether you're a business person, whether you're a student, it doesn't matter. It allows anybody. We have people all ages, from 18 up to, there's a guy 96 years old who does this. But it allows anybody to create a residual income by sharing the information. And you guys in El Paso are super lucky. There's a lot of cities this hasn't even got to. Paul opened El Paso, and there's some other great distributors here who are awesome presenters, who are super educated. And they can get into the crazy science of the product, but we don't really need to do that. All we need to do is show them the video, okay? So this video can do more than anything that we can say, because you say, look, don't take my word for it, just watch this ABC Primetime video, and get them intrigued, and then when they're intrigued, they can come to a meeting. They can come see the entire message, or the entire thing. But what I want to tell you is that this is a business to create residual income, or that royalty income, where you can kind of do the work once, and then get paid for it over and over and over again. And that's what residual income is you do it once, and you get a royalty on that for one time. So what are some of my favorite examples? Michael Jackson, I think he has pretty good royalty income. The guy has passed away, he's left us, and his estate has crazy amounts of royalty or residual income that keep coming in after he's gone. And that's literally the same thing you could do with this business. The thing is I don't know if anybody can sing or dance in here, but if you can't, you could still probably do this business and create, your opportunity for residual income. And so I'm just going to show you a quick example, then we're going to be done. I just want to draw out what it looks like if this is something that you see, if you're sitting here and saying, well, what's in it for me? How do I do this? I want to show you a really quick example. I'm going to draw it up on the whiteboard. Then I'll take some questions if anybody has questions. And then we'll take a break. Anybody who has to leave can leave if you have things you have to do. We're just really glad that you took the time to hear this information from us. But after that, we're going to stay, and I'm going to get into some training about the system. So one of the reasons this works, and why we can take people from all different walks of life, and we can help them succeed and create a residual income, is because of the system. The system is proven. It's a proven model. It's been done time and time again. There's some people that say, well, network marketing doesn't work. It's a pyramid, it's this, it's that, it's the other, and a lot of that's just misinformation and people who aren't educated on the facts. And I was one of those people. I was one of those people who thought, I'm not getting involved in that business, but I'm going to take the product and I'm going to share it with people. But when I actually saw the model, I completely changed my mind. And so I just challenge you to be open-minded and to let yourself get educated on the facts. So I don't know if everybody can see this. I'm going to kind of put it here, or maybe I'll put it at a little bit more of an angle like this. Is that somewhat okay? Okay, good. So I'm just going to show you. So you might be sitting there saying, okay, that's great. I'm not a good public speaker. I don't know biology like Paul, or whatever it may be. There might be some barriers in your mind why you shouldn't do this or why you can't do this. But I'm just going to show you. There's well, let me take a step back. There's one product. There's two delivery systems. So the first product is Protandem. It's a tablet. Paul talked all about it. The second is it's Protandem in a cream, and so you can literally put it directly onto your skin. And so this product came about because of the LSU skin cancer studies, and this product has been almost as many. I mean, they're both Protandem. They're just different delivery systems. So Protandem is $40 a month plus shipping. True Science is $70 a bottle plus shipping. True Science usually lasts, ladies, I don't know, usually lasts about 2 months. But Protandem's a 30-day supply. So those are the only two products we talk about, and they're both Protandem. One's topical, one's oral. Okay? So all you have to do if you're thinking, do I want to get involved? You can just take the product. That is totally fine. We would welcome that at least. At least take the product, try it for 90 to 120 days, see what happens to you. Okay? Give yourself a trial. But we know from research what's happening to you. Okay? We know that your oxidative stress is lowering, your glutathione's going up. There's all these great things that are going on. Whether you feel it or not, it doesn't really matter. That's what's happening. That's proven. Okay? That's proven. That's peer-reviewed, published literature. It was independently funded. It doesn't get any better than that on the research side. Okay? But if you want to get involved from a business standpoint, there's sort of three things we need to look at. One, you have to at least take the product, and I would say that's at least $40 a month. And two, in order to really make this work and to make it worth your time, I would tell you that you have to find probably 4 other people out there who also want to take the product. And if you find 4 other people who want to take Protandem, that would be $160. Okay? So those are the first 2 steps. One, you would have to want to take the product, and you'd have to find 4 people out there who also do. And if you do, this adds up to some magical number called 200. Okay? Is that right? 40 plus 160?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, 200. All right? So this is magical because a lot of people think, I'm not a salesperson, I'm not going to be hitting the streets selling this to hundreds of people, doing this, blah, blah, blah. Perfect. We don't want salespeople. We want educators. We want people who love the product and want to tell a couple people about it, because that's how this thing grows. It doesn't grow from going door to door and selling people and cold calling people. That's not how this works. This works extremely well if we share it with the people who know, like, and trust us and who are right next to us, okay? So we take it, we get 4 people on it. It's all about the 200s, okay? The third thing is that I would tell you to really exceed in this and create a residual income long term is that you're going to have to find 5 business partners, okay? So if this is you, you're going to have to find 5 people who see what you see, who watch that video and get excited, who hear Paul's story or Dr. Mays' story and get excited. Just, people who have a pulse, who can get excited about this stuff. You need to find 5 of them, okay? So if you do that, then you're actually going to get compensated just for finding them, okay? So I told you that there was I told you how much the product was, but if you want to become a business builder, a distributor, and you want to make money, the way that we do it is there's a one-time fee of $630, okay? But that gets product, it gets marketing materials, and it gets a website. The website you keep forever, it's yours. The company does all of your accounting, all of your stuff. Okay, so you say, well, $630, that's a lot of money, I don't have it. Okay, well, here's the deal. Here's what we do. Is you get 12 bottles of Protandem and 1 bottle of True Science with that, on top of the website, on top of everything else. And so what we do is we line up, we do Paul or Michelle or whoever invited you here, we line up and we do a meeting for your people who just want to take the product. And we get them to say, yeah, I want to take the product. And they give you a check for that product. And then, as soon as you found 5 or 6 or 10 people who want to take it, then you pull the trigger on this. Product comes 5 business days later. You've got the money, you give them the product, and you've broken even. Okay? So there are tons of different creative ways we can do this where there's zero risk. The other thing is if you have access to a credit card, you put this on a credit card, you get your product, we do meetings for you immediately, presentations. They could be one-on-one, they could be phone calls, they could be Skype, they could be anything. This is an example of a live one, but it doesn't have to be like this. There's different ways. But we want to sell this product immediately so you get your money back. And then once you do, the risk is gone, it's over. Okay, then you have the ability to make money. So if you find these 5 people who want to get involved with you, who see what you see, you're actually going to get paid $210 for the first 3 people. Okay? So 210, 210, 210. In El Paso, what is 210 times 3? 630? Okay. So 630 equals how much it costs to get in. So if you don't sell your bottles quick, but you've got 3 people who want to get involved, that's another way to break even. You get 3 business partners. Okay? From number 4 on forever, you get 260. Okay? 4 on forever, 260. Okay? So this right here, if you find 5 business partners, you made $1,150. Okay? We have people that have done that in a week. Okay? And in 2 days, actually. So you've then just doubled your money. You doubled your investment, and you have 13 bottles to sell. Okay? So that's how you break even. Okay? But I want to show you that doesn't take care of this time. You know, some of us don't have any time. We don't have the financial security we want. And so we want to buy our time back. We want to have time for our family, for our kids, for our passions, whatever we want. Or maybe we want to just, you know, we have some sort of reason why we want a lot of money for a financial venture. Okay, so I'm going to show you, if so far this makes sense, I'm going to show you how we do that. Okay, so remember I said it was all about the 200s, meaning that like we don't need crazy salespeople. We need people who can use the product and have 4 other people use it. That's 200. So this model is all about the 200s. So the royalty piece, there's 3 different royalty commissions that this company pays, but I'm just going to show you one of them. This is number 4. There's 6. This is the 4th one. Okay? So the company actually pays us 9 generations deep, and they say that, okay, for every bottle that you are responsible for directly or indirectly, we're going to compensate you. Okay, and they give you a certain commission all the way down 9 generations. Okay, so like on the first level it's 2%, second it's 5, third it's 9, fourth it's 5, and I'm just going to stop at 4 because we don't need to keep going through the whole thing. But remember, you had 5 teammates, okay, from the last thing. I showed you 5 teammates. The assumption is always $200 of product use, okay? 200 is super conservative. And if we do that, this one commission, this one level, that's going to create a $20 residual check. You guys are looking at me like, 20 bucks, really? That's not too exciting. I understand, but let me show you if we duplicate. So this business is not a sales business, because if it was a sales business, maybe Paul wouldn't be doing so well in it, because that's not that's not what his strengths are. But he's a great teacher, okay, and he shares things he likes with his friends, and so he's doing so well at this because he keeps it simple. He got his 5 teammates. Now he's helping them get theirs, and it just keeps duplicating. So this is a business of duplication, and if people try to do it as sales, they're going to fail. Okay, because it doesn't work. It doesn't duplicate. If you want to sell, you'll keep selling forever, but you're never going to have this residual income that keeps growing. So we have to teach people, and that's part of the system. And the thing that's funny is I was one of those people who's like, network marketing is a scam, this pyramid thing, I don't like it. And then somebody said, well, what do you think corporate America is? What do you think the structure of the government is? What do you think the Girl Scouts is? I mean, there's somebody at the top, there's another level, but that's one of the top's the one that makes all the money, not everybody who's working. Okay? So we this pyramid shape, it's not that we're the pyramid that's wrong, it's just that we have this negative connotation like Paul's the only one that can make money because he got in first, which isn't true. Everybody's paid directly what they're worth. It's the most fair system that we have. Okay? But you have to understand it. You have to grasp the whole thing, and it took me a while. So if we can duplicate, not sell, but duplicate, we can get these 5 people, we can all get them their 5. That can turn to 25. The assumption is just $200 of product usage. Now, that's $250 of residual income on a monthly basis. So if we just did that, that's a $270 check that would come to you month after month after month on the 15th. Okay? still not exciting enough for some people. So if we get a second level of duplication, that's 125 people. And if we just, again, assume it's all about the 200s, $2,250 a month, residual. But this is cumulative, so we add up all 3 levels. That's over $2,500 a month, over $30,000 a year. But in this business, you're self-employed, so you actually have a bunch of tax advantages that some of us might not have right now. And so you can write off like your cell phone, your computer, your home internet, your home office. You can write off travel, meals, entertainment, all kinds of stuff like that you can write off if you're self-employed. Okay, so this is $30,000 a year. If we go one more level, this is the final level I'll show you. Duplicated a third time, 1, 2, 3. We could have 625 people. Everybody just responsible for $200 of usage somehow. That's $6,250. But it's cumulative. This adds up to $8,077 per month, or $105,000 a year. Now that seems ridiculous to some people. They think, well, that's crazy. Like 625 people, 105 grand a year. It's crazy. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, everybody has different goals, and I'm not saying that everybody should do this. Okay, some people want to do more than that. But whether you just want to get the product for free, whether you want to maybe pay for like a utility payment, maybe at this level like utility payment or part of a car payment or gas. This level maybe you're paying for a mortgage or your fixed expenses. This level maybe it's a full-time income for you and your family, and you and a spouse, neither one of you have to work. It doesn't matter what your goals are, but I believe that these 4 steps can show anybody how to make this something that they could get excited about from a business standpoint. So, maybe you have no desire from a business standpoint to do this, but maybe you know somebody who would. Maybe you know somebody who might need this or who might need the product. And so we just wanted to share the information with you. Nobody's forced to do anything, but after people see this information, generally they want to try the product, they want to get involved, or they want more information, or they want to learn the system, or whatever area you fit into. All we ask is that whoever invited you, you just tell them where you're at. You say, hey, great, thanks. I'm glad you invited me. I want to try the product. They might, or if you feel like you want to join the business, then tell them immediately, I want to join the business. And if that's you, then stay after for a couple minutes, and we'll get into that. Maybe you want more information. So what I'll do now is I'll answer some questions. And so if anybody has questions on what I showed you or what Paul talked about, we'll take a couple questions for a minute, and then we'll have a quick break.
I was just wondering, before I leave, I have to leave right
Sure.
How long do you have to get the 5 people? Because how some places require you get 5 people within.
That's a great question. The 5 people, there's no time limit. Okay, so the 4 people who just take the product, we coach people to do that within the first 30 days. So you're on the product, and 4 people just take the product. We coach people to do that within 30 days. The 5 people, there's no time limit. There's no minimum. There's no maximum. The sooner you do it, the better, obviously. But there's no limit. There's no limit. So that's a great question. No problem. Any more questions? Anybody? Business, product, anything? Anybody have anything?
As far as mentoring, let's say I do insurance. I'm so busy with my insurance. I can't sit and mentor. I have a lot of people that, but I can't sit and motivate them and mentor them to keep going on. How do you do that? Because then they're going to get disenchanted, or they may not. They may want to drop. You have to keep after it and after it.
Yep.
How do you go about that?
Yeah, you get it. I like that question because it means you get it. Okay, so this business is all about mentoring, and that's so important, and that's why a lot of people fail sort of in these types of businesses, is because they're not mentored, they're not coached, they don't even learn the system. They do it for a week, they vomit at the mouth about how great this product is, and everybody's like, what? And it doesn't work. So mentoring is a huge part of the system. And so we have some people, maybe like you, who are very influential, who have business contacts or clients from other ventures. And so what we do is we team you up. Like Paul is full-time at this in El Paso. There's a couple other people. Michelle is pretty much full-time. And we have 3 or 4 people that are pretty full-time. And so what we would do is it'd be very, very crucial that sort of I tell people it takes 3 things. It takes time, it takes expertise, and it takes contacts. And so you're telling us you're in a situation, well, I've got great contacts, but I don't have the time, and I don't want to know what Paul just said. That's way too above my head. I don't even want to know that. There's people who might say that, and so then what Paul has is time, and he can mentor. And so you enroll your people, your 5, and then somebody like me, like Paul, like other people in the organization who do this full time, we run with those people, okay? And we train them and mentor them. Now, everybody would, I mean, you'd have to at least, you know, get them enrolled, and they'd have to see your belief, and when you had time, you'd have to show your face a little bit, just because that's going to work best. But there's plenty of people who sort of act as referral sources. You know, they don't have the time yet, but if this can grow to the level they think, then they may make the time later, you know, once that
Right,
residual
because the
gets
people
bigger.
that I would introduce you to are very influential, and they will not have so much time because they make so much money.
Right,
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
But they know a lot of people.
exactly.
That type of thing.
We love those partners, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Not a problem. Yeah, so like myself and Paul, and then we have 2 business partners in Phoenix, and 2 in Tucson. So there'd be like 6 people to mentor your people that are full time.
Okay.
They would just have to buy into the system somewhat, or have some involvement to make it work. You know, a lot of them might just be product users who like to refer other product users. That can be okay too. But the way to do it is to really set up like franchises. You know, we're not looking for per tandem salespeople. We're looking for per tandem franchises. You know, people who franchise say, I love the product. I'm gonna take it forever, and I'm gonna share it with people on a long-term basis. And then pretty soon, what's gonna happen is everybody's gonna hear about per tandem and gonna want to come get it. And so they're gonna go get it from those franchises or those people you've established around the country. And so that's the power of being first. That is the power of where this thing is going. And there's a couple things that we didn't share with you guys, but there's been a lot of research done on companies who go to this model, and they you know, the question is, well, what does first mean? Like what's the number? And there's a Harvard Business Review article on that, and first was the first 100 to 135,000 distributors in a company are considered ground floor. Okay, so right now we're getting close to 100,000, but I don't even think we're there. And so anybody who's in that first 135,000 is ground floor. They're first. The other marker is based on company sales. And so companies usually go into momentum, like where they have rapid, crazy growth. Generally, it only happens one time for the life of the company. And then after, they kind of stabilize. And so they might have, you know, anywhere from 5 to 10% growth annually, but they might go through a 12 to 18 month period at some point in their life where they have like thousands of % growth, and it just explodes. And that's called momentum. And in network marketing companies, that's when a product does about 5 million in sales for 12 months in a row. And so we're really just hitting that point. We jumped over it because last year we didn't do that, but this year we're on track to hit 125 million. And so, but the problem is the second half of the year was so sales heavy that we still have not completed 12 months in a row of at least 5 million in sales. But the indicators are showing that we're about to go through that rapid growth. And so the people who make money in these types of companies, they're first. And that's all of you, you know. And so that's the thing. People say, well, the people who are in first make more money. Well, that's true. And that's why we're here, you know. So it's a good question, though. Any other questions? I know it's getting warm, guys.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
On the one-time fee for $630, that to be a distributor,
Yeah.
where does that put you? I mean, where would I be? Do I get certain percentages off, or I still have to sell the bottle for $40, or?
Yeah. So your bottle would still be $40 a month, your personal that you take. But sort of every time somebody buys a bottle from you for the first time, you would get a 30% commission on that. So I didn't get into that. There's 6 commissions. They're pretty detailed. I didn't get into all of them. I can later if you guys want. But the one that you're sort of asking about is when somebody buys a bottle. So we don't carry inventory. I mean, from time to time we have bottles on us. But after we sell those first 13, then everything is referred to our website. So you have a link. You can text it, email it, send it to somebody. They purchase their product from your website. You don't touch it. You don't take money. The company takes the money. The company pays you a commission. And it's all tracked in your back office. So yes, you don't ever have to worry about that. So, good question. Any other questions? Questions? Anything? Anyone?
How do you foresee doctors? Why would doctors want to sell this? Because it might take away from them, right? Because the big
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals are saying, hey, write this many. My brother-in-law's a doctor, and he gets to go to Florida on a trip because you wrote, 50 Viagra's or whatever it be.
Right.
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 Or whatever the good
Right.
medicine is, the cholesterol.
Right. Sure.
Wouldn't that kind of hurt him? Because
Yeah,
it's making the people bitter?
It could. I mean, in my organization, I think I have 10 positions. And Dr. Mays is one. I mean, so maybe you can answer this question better than me. I can tell you what I've seen, but how do you think doctors would react to this? I mean, you're more open-minded, you're more natural, but what do you think physicians would say?
Well, the doctor I go to, she basically has supplements like a bunch of antioxidants and also
In her
omega-3.
office?
Not exactly this one. This is the one I'm trying to introduce her. But she has a lot of other stuff, and you could buy it. It's very optional. Your insurance will not pay it. You'll have to pay it out of your pocket, but she will pay. And I did approach some other doctors. They were very resistant. You see what I mean? Skeptical. Yes.
Yeah.
So it depends on the physician. They normally project their own personality. You
Right.
see what I mean? In their profession. So it may vary from doctor to doctor.
The best scenario that I've seen, this isn't like scripture, this isn't fact, it's just what I've seen, is that a doctor who is disgruntled with what he's seeing in medicine right now, and he's sick of maybe the standard protocol, or he wants to do something different, or he wants to create another residual income so he can stop practicing sooner, or has a spouse, a husband or wife, who might want to do this and they back him. That's a scenario I see a lot that works. And a lot of times these physicians get involved, or the physicians who do get involved, they got involved because they took the product themselves, or their family did, or somebody did who was close to them, or a patient did who got like crazy results. And they're like, doctor, I took this. And they're like, no, I couldn't do that. You know, and they come back and they see, you know, like I've had people's lab work change drastically. I've seen a couple different surgeries where the scar tissue was gone within like 6 weeks, and it was just crazy recovery. And so those are the type of physicians who look at it. But you know, generally, our typical Western medicine is not well versed on supplementation or nutrition, and so it's a little bit outside the scope of what they've learned. So doctors aren't really our market, but if we can find one that has open-minded and has a lot of credentials, then that's a great business partner. You know, and it's great for you to be able to say, hey, come meet Dr. Meza and let's talk about this, because instant credibility. But at the same time, the average person doesn't need that. What grows this is soccer moms. I mean, I'm telling you, the best, I have physicians, I have chiropractors, I have top trainers, I have the people that I think are going to just run with this and do so well, and they don't do much. But the stay-at-home mom who is super passionate, who has a story to share, those are some of the best people. So you just never know. It's usually just the people who are the most passionate about this sort of thing. So it's a good story. Good question. Any other questions? Going once? No questions? Okay, guys, what we'll do is, I know everybody's warm. Let's just take a quick break, and then whoever wants to hear more about the system, we'll run through that for about 20, 30 minutes, and then we'll be done. So, and some of us might go out to eat after this too, so if you want to continue to talk, we'd be happy to talk to you further. So, thank you guys for coming.
Huh?